Hey guys, Big Mac Kaz here again, and after how the last video performed, a lot of you guys have been asking what's like an actual true opinion that I have for this game, not just the sort of first-hand bugs and glitches, but what I truly think about this game as a whole. And we're going to really discuss this game in a lot of detail for what it is, without the bugs and glitches. We're also going to be talking about the recent PSN store takedowns that CD Projekt Red have been doing, and also the recent lawsuit that has come up against them and how that's going to be developing. It's a more of a serious video, but it has to be said. Before we get into like the really in-depth review of this game, we need to talk about the potential lawsuit CD Projekt Red are facing and also why they took down the game for the PSN store. Essentially, they're thinking of making a lawsuit against CD Projekt Red for basically the action that they sent the game out on the base consoles. This involves the PS4 and the Xbox. To put it simply, CD Projekt Red didn't let people have a review copy of the game. They only let them use their stock footage, which a lot of people, this was quite common knowledge, but no one really batted an eye at it. But obviously they used this as a way to profit from it, to stop people complaining about the game and knowing how much of a horrible mess it was. Like, we've all seen the footage of the PS4 version of where the guy goes into the shop and it literally looks like a Nintendo 64 version. Which I imagine this has also come from the fact that CD Projekt Red also took the game off the PS4 store to be bought to stop as much loss as well. But then again, that can be forgiven. This has happened before with another game. If anyone remembers the Batman Arkham Knight port to PC, they took that off the market because of how broken it was, and they took it away to fix it. And now even I own Arkham Knight on PC, and I also played it on Xbox, and it runs completely fine on PC now after they fixed many of the mishaps that they had with that game. Again, this isn't confirmed, this is just that they're analysing it to maybe make a lawsuit against them. I highly doubt they're going to go through with it. It's very unlikely. They're just going to claim that the game wasn't ready and they were put under pressure to get it out as fast as possible. But I don't know, as this develops we'll know more, but right now we don't know. I know that they released a hotfix today, but apparently people are reporting from this hotfix it's caused more crashes. So who knows, apparently from what people have told me, some people just got a broken version of the game. I don't understand how that works if you've got given it digitally rather than on disc. Which is really a shame that this is happening to CD Projekt Red, considering that they were known as a company that was very pro-consumer rather than pro-company, so to put it. But anyway, it's a real shame this is happening. Again, if this goes through, I have no idea. If it does, I feel like they're going to be made an example of to other companies not to do this in the future. Was it kind of slimy and scumbaggy to kind of do this to people? I kind of had a weird feeling when this was all going on that why people didn't get review copies. But again, it felt like they were trying to be genuine so everyone got to play at the same time. The same with like how they made the timings with the whole content lock thing. If you guys remember, a lot of people couldn't play the game before the time that it got released. But then again, that can also be countered with they did that to stop it being, you know, damage control essentially. But who knows? We'll find out probably in the coming days what's going to happen with this situation. To start things off, right, it's going to be very, again, minor spoilers. There will be a few spoilers for mainly the first half of the game, but apart from that, it's not going to be groundbreaking. I'm not going to discuss the ending or anything like that. That will be after probably the patch happens or maybe at a later date. Nevertheless, the one thing that I really want to get into this game, and a lot of people have been complaining about, is how the game is as a whole, as without the glitches, without the bugs, how it performs and how it delivers as a AAA title. And I'm still disappointed with this game. There's no way else to say it. This game, to me, is very average. It's not anything exciting. It's nothing really new. A lot of the time, people have been telling me that, oh, this game's very groundbreaking, how it graphically looks, how it like performs. It's like, no, it's literally, it feels clunky. The movement in this game isn't smooth. It's very clunky. And that's completely fine. Games like Fallout have that similar movement style. But in this game, you would expect everything to run a little bit smoother when you're roaming around Night City. But again, another point I want to bring up on this is the driving in this game. The driving in this game feels like ice skating. It doesn't feel real. It feels very out of control. Most of the time, I found myself driving the motorcycles because they felt the most nimble around the city. Like, the cars feel like a paper airplane that you would make in school that you'd throw at your bald teacher because it was funny, but in this game it isn't funny. It's frustrating how the cars don't feel really good, and the way it was portrayed in the trailers is that the cars and the motorcycles were going to be a big part of it, but in this game it doesn't feel like that at all. Even during the cutscenes where the chases happen and you're shooting out the window, they felt really good, but at certain times it just felt like the car's on rails. It didn't feel smooth. Like, the car looks like it's pointing in one direction, but for some reason it's moving sideways. Like, it just doesn't feel like you're in there with the cutscene. It just feels very, very disingenuous to me. Also, to link in with the driving, the minimap is awful in this game. It's terrible. Like, honestly, it's the worst, one of the worst minimaps I've seen. It's when you're driving through the city, the map is so zoomed in while you're driving that you always miss a, like, 9 times out of 10, I miss a corner. I miss it all the time because the map's so zoomed in. Like, I don't understand why there isn't a button or a feature where it zooms out the map a little bit more so you can see the turn that's coming up ahead. Half the time I'm sort of guessing when the corners come in, and that really kind of ruins the movement of play with the cars I'm driving. Like, it's just really frustrating. Another thing I want to talk about is the gunplay in this game, which is also core to this game. The gunplay to me doesn't feel very good. It feels very slow and very, just not very in the action. Like, the only time I generally felt like a badass was when I played the Johnny Silverhand section of the game with his pistol, because his pistol packed a punch. Half the weapons in the game, when I fire them, don't feel like they pack a punch. They feel like I'm throwing my fucking pube hair at them. Like, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel satisfying to me. It feels, I understand it's an RPG and all the guns gonna feel very similar, but half the time the guns don't feel like they have any weight to them. It's very unsatisfying to really get in a gunfight with people, and half the time with the whole movement and with the fucking other AI, the way that they perform, it's always very it's just shit. Like, like, I just don't get the feeling I was looking for in most FPS shooters. This isn't really a big complaint, but the crafting system in this game is very lackluster. I only found myself using it once or twice. Half the time I end up going to a vendor for most of my stuff, but then again, like, if you're into that sort of thing, you've really used the crafting system in this game, good for you, like, but to me, never really used it. Half the time I'm picking up guns off the floor, which again isn't a bad thing. Like, I'm glad it's there, but then again, is there any really point having it there? Because from the people I've talked to, they don't really use it that often. One of the biggest points I wanted to talk about in this game was the characters, because in this game the characters I don't feel like I connected to or I really cared about. The only character I could really say that had an impact on me was Jackie. Jackie was the only person that you really cared about, and not to really spoil it, but what happens in the first half of this game, like, you really felt something with him. Whereas with the other characters, regardless of the side quest, I really struggled to really get emotionally invested in them. I felt most of the time I'm just skipping the dialogue because it's just not drawing me in. It's not keeping me focused on the story, whereas other games have. And I've seen in the comment section of the last video, a lot of people are comparing this game to Red Dead Redemption 2's fucking story, but the difference is between this game and Red Dead was that Red Dead had really well written actors and really well written stories to go with them. Every side quest in Red Dead 2 felt like a main mission. In this game, people have argued that yes, the side quests matter and they're they're intertwined with the main story and it affects what ending you get. But then again, I don't want to do them half the time because I just don't give a shit about the characters that are in the side quests. Some of them, I will admit, are good and are interesting, but half the time, it's not. It's very lackluster, I'd say. Like, the one I do remember enjoying was the one with the guy that runs the car company in the heist mission with Jackie, and that there's also a GLaDOS Easter egg in that side quest, which I thought was a really good, clever nod. But again, even after doing that side mission, that's the only one I can really remember and stick out in my mind. Like, I'm not saying the voice actors in this game did a bad job. I think what they were given with, they delivered perfectly. I think Keanu Reeves did very good in this game. I really liked what he brought to the table in this game. I felt every time he showed up, I felt a sense of happiness that he was there, because he was the only thing, honestly, to me, that was keeping me involved in the story, was waiting for Keanu to show up, because his dialogue is very interesting. The way that he portrays himself kept me wanting more of him, and that's what I love. I think, again, the voice actors didn't do a bad job, but I feel like the writing in this game was very average. It wasn't very dramatic, in my opinion. This also links onto my next point of V, you, the protagonist, because this is one of those games where essentially it's you in this world. You have a backstory, yes, but essentially it's you and your personality in this game, because you're making the choices that you would make if you were in this situation. And a lot of games do this well, such as Fallout, Skyrim, any of the other Elder Scrolls games. Even like elements of Witcher is like based on what you want and your choices. But in this game, I feel very disconnected from V. I don't feel like I am V. I feel like he's just on a rail, really. He's just not interesting. And this could be argued that saying, well, it's not really you in the game that makes the story, it's the people around you. But then again, when some of the writing in this game is very flat and very disconnected, that really affects how you play. Like in many situations throughout the story, I really didn't find myself caring about what happened to V. I really didn't care, like it was just happening. I just didn't really feel like much emotion to it. The next thing I wanted to talk about is how the game looks graphically, and I'm not gonna lie, in certain elements of this game, the game graphically looks amazing, like especially if you have ray tracing on. Some of the lighting, shadows and puddles in the game, and just generally Night City as a whole looks amazing. But then again, what me and a lot of other people have discovered is having this ray tracing on usually causes the bugs and issues, because it's trying to process so much of it graphically, it's bugging up everything else. And I know I wasn't really going to talk about bugs and glitches in this game, but it's one of the main issues that I found that was causing a lot of the bugs and glitches and most of my game crashes, was me trying to push this game graphically. I've had people tell me that they spent over an hour tweaking their settings just so it performs smoothly, and I won't lie, after turning my settings down to medium and tweaking a lot of it, it did perform better. There wasn't as many glitches or bugs that there were before. I was experiencing less crashes in the game. But then again, like the bugs and glitches again, you can look at my previous video on this. A lot of people have been comparing this game to a lot of other things such as Red Dead, the previous Witcher games, but the one game I want to compare this to, which a lot of people haven't thought about, is Deus Ex Mankind Divided. That game is what this game should have strived to be. The way it works in that game and how it graphically looks is really good. A lot of reviewers gave it positive reviews, such as like 9 out of 10s, because it was that good. The way the cyberware works in that game with the whole skill point allocation, it felt like a lot of what I did in that game mattered. In this game, I don't have that same feeling. I know it's a weird comparison, but honestly, go look at Deus Ex Mankind Divided and you'll know what I'm talking about. If you've even played it, you know what I'm going for with this. The whole way the world works in that game and how the stealth and the gunplay works just makes sense in this game. In this one, the stealth is broken. 80% of the time it can work and 20% of the time it might not. A lot of the time, again, my previous video I'm going to reference, but a lot of the time the stealth modes that I wanted to do, the guards would spot me instantly without even seeing me, or they would shoot randomly, or something would randomly happen and I wouldn't be able to do it stealthy anymore. I'm not going to drag on about it, but still, in Deus Ex it worked a lot better. Also as well, in Deus Ex it gives you a lot of options of how you want to tackle certain areas, quite like how Dishonored worked as well. The other thing I find myself frustrating myself with this game is that there isn't really a lot of action in this game. From like the first half, or the majority of the game, I find myself just sitting in dialogue screens, having to spam the C button to skip it because I just want to get on with shooting people. Like, this game was advertised as a very much an action RPG as much as it was a very dialogue and story driven game. I'm not trying to hinder companies from trying something new, whereas like they tried the approach of not every mission has to be very run and gun, but in this game it just doesn't work because the dialogue just sadly drags on too long. And this personally prevented me wanting to do more side quests and doing more stuff. Like, I still did it anyway, but half the time I didn't enjoy the dialogue between characters because it was too much. It was so much dialogue, and half the time the missions wouldn't even involve you doing any action, so to say. It was very much just walking around picking up stuff or doing simple tasks. And I know that's like, again, they want to add detail to this, but it's not engaging at all. It's just damn right boring. One other thing I do want to praise this game on is how some of the cars in first person look, like to the things to the dash and other little things like the fixers rooms with the screens and some of the stuff like that. I think companies should really take note on these little details and start implementing in their games, considering we are now in like the next gen console phase where companies should really be focusing on the details and textures of their games. And I think it really adds a lot to the world, and I think it'd be so much more immersive. Just sadly, this game, with all its other problems, it just hasn't worked. idea. Once again, I'm not trying to shit on this game purposely just for like the meme of it. Like, I'm one of these people that was very excited for this game when it was first announced, and to be left with this and with all the problems it's had, I'm really trying to see it in a positive light, but I just can't anymore because it's inexcusable. Like, how could they release a game like this and fold under the fan pressure to release this game when it clearly wasn't ready? I feel like even if this game was delayed another fucking year, it would have been a lot better with what we've gotten. And it's a real shame what we've ended up with and the mess that CD Projekt Red are in. Now, people have been asking, was I too harsh on this game in my previous video? And the answer to that is no. I think my comments were justified and fair. I'm really happy with the last video, even if like the amount of people don't see this video. I'm really happy with the discussion people had with this game and the general conversation in the comment section about what people thought about this game from both sides. The people that absolutely love this game to the people who were really annoyed and angry about it. And I'm sort of somewhere in the middle of this because I think it's still an okay game. Would I recommend people to buy this after the patches that they've announced coming out? Yes, I would. I think it's still worth playing. I don't think it's worth full price. I think it's still worth a shot though, because I think it does have a lot to offer, but at the same time, it's a very average game. It's one of those that you would buy on sale. It's not one of those that you would pay the full price for, like I did. Also, to give the game credit, I feel like they had a lot of pressure on them to release this game early before it was actually ready. I feel like this game was still in development in a lot of its sections. For example, I'd be on the highway half the time and there would be no cars around, or there'd be like 4 cars around. Regardless of what settings I had it on, it just feels, on the outskirts of the city, it feels very deserted. And I know inside the city it's very crowded, there's lots of NPCs walking about and it's very full of life. But then again, even in GTA, in the free roam, if you go all the way to the top of the northern part of the maps, there's loads of people on the highway, there's people walking on mountains, there's still people around to make the world feel alive. It's not just alive in one section and dead in another. Like, again, it's such a I feel like with this game, with my opinion, I feel moments of engagement, but a lot of the time I feel moments of disengagement, and it doesn't have my full attention all the time. Like, playing this game on and on and on, I just feel myself hitting the skip button on the dialogue section because I just don't really care anymore. I don't care about the characters. After playing the game for more than, 15, 20 plus hours, like, I feel like these days a lot of people want the content, they want it now. If you haven't got a person's attention in a game within the first 6 hours, like, you've lost everything. And at times I felt myself dreading playing the play button on this game because as much as I wanted to play it, I really didn't want to play it. And it just frustrates me a lot because I really want to like this game. I really did want it to live up to what the hype was, but sadly it's not doing that. In short, I feel like CD Projekt Red should have stuck to their guns. I feel like they should have told people, we're sorry, it's not ready, deal with it. Like, a lot of people getting angry that like the game's broken. I feel like if they've been pushed for a game to be released so quickly when I'm assuming that they knew that it wasn't ready, then, do you know what I mean? People need to be more accepting of this. People need to stop pushing companies to release games that are not ready. That's why this game has failed, because it just was not ready. Now, I know this has been a longer video, and if you've actually made it to the end, thank you very much for listening to what I had to say. Please let me know down in the comments if you disagree or agree with my opinion. It's a free-for-all. Like, I always look at it from both sides, but this is honestly just my personal opinion on this game. But you guys on the last video, thank you so much. You guys utterly killed it. It got past 15k views, and honestly, the discussion in the comment section was utterly amazing. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, my channel's never had like this sort of spike in views or likes or dislikes ever, and it's honestly been amazing talking to you guys in the comments. I do try and respond to all of them, like I did in the last one. Had over like 500 comments. It was utterly insane, and from the bottom of my heart, guys, I cannot thank you enough for the support. To the people who subscribed as well, if you're still here, thank you so much. Like, it means the world to me. You guys utterly smashed it. As always, all the links down below, they will be there in the description. I'm also going to link the articles regarding the lawsuit to do with CD Projekt Red and any other relevant shit. But honestly, guys, thank you so much again. Check out my Instagram page. I'm always posting on there. That's where you can catch me most often. Yeah, I can't even speak anymore. I'm just speaking for 20 plus minutes and my voice is going. But anyway, guys, thank you for sticking around. I'll see you a lot in the next one. Peace.